Hey guys, Farmer Dan here, welcome to Casanova Cottage. Today I thought I'd do a bit of a video on how I harvest my worm farm. I've sort of let this worm farm go way over before you should be harvesting. All I put in my worm farm is scraps that don't go to the other animals. You can hear my guinea fowl in the back there. Scraps that don't go to other animals, mainly off pumpkins and watermelons, which they absolutely love. And I use the watermelons and pumpkins to bring them out of the bottom tier. So mine's only a 2-tier round worm farm. When you're ready to harvest, if you were to be having, if you did it in a, say in a bathtub style, you would put pumpkins or watermelons at the end where you want the worms to go. So you can harvest from the other side. They can't resist watermelons and pumpkins, guys. So I've put an old pumpkin, say about 3 weeks ago, in the top half, and it's well and truly rotted away. Actually, it's probably a month ago, to be honest, guys. And so they're all up in that top tier now. And so it's time to harvest the bottom tier, and I may even have to harvest just a little bit off the top. It is quite chock-a-block in there, guys. So I'm going to take you, I'm going to show you. First, I need to drain that black gold, the wormweed that comes out of the bottom, and then I'll be showing you how to harvest from the top. When you do go to do it, guys, you want to do it on a sunny day. That's rule of thumb, because the method that I use light to actually cause them to go further in. So I create a pile on, whether it be an old tarp, an old board of timber, whether it be on some cardboard, which I'm doing today. Just some sort of substrate, so it's not straight on the ground, and it just makes it easier to clean up, especially, guys. And then the cardboard can be waxed straight onto the garden, which is what I love, and used as mulch. So I'll show you how I do it now, guys. I'll take you over to the worm farm, show you where I got it sitting. As you see, the sun's coming and going. It's a slightly overcast day, but I think we'll be all right. Hey guys, this is where I keep my worm farm, just in the carport. So rule of thumb with the worm farms is they must be kept somewhere dark and somewhere cool. Otherwise, you will cook your worms, guys, and they'll end up leaving your beds, your bins. So yeah, you really want it dark, cool, and I'll show you now. Mine is way over full. So as you see, there's a lot of worm activity. I'll bring you in closer and I'll show you what I got going on. So as you see, guys, the lot of worm activity. This is all the coffee grounds that I put in there. You see that decaying pumpkin that I was talking about, and as you see, the worms absolutely love it, guys. They love the old pumpkin. Look at that, look how many worms are in that, guys. So these are your red wriggler type and your tiger worms. There's two varieties in here, as you see the difference between them. I'll try and show you. So your red wrigglers are your normal red type, and the tiger worms are the banded striped ones, as you can see the bands on them. But
the yellow one?
Yeah, the yellowy ones. Today I have my daughter with me helping me, guys. She's my main helper. She wanted to help Dad do the worm farm today, so I've got my daughter Annabelle. But yeah, so I'll show you guys how we harvest this now. And what we do, we don't harvest the top tier, guys. So the top tier will then be the bottom tier going on. But for now, as you can see, it's way over full. So the actual, I'll have to still remove some off the top and put it into the next tier before I can actually put the top tier back on, guys. So when I harvest the wormweed, guys, I try to do it in square containers. I found it to be the easiest because I then pour them into milk bottles, and I found with the square, like the curved edge, it's a little easier than trying to pour it out of a round bucket, which I'll show you in a minute. So to show you guys, as you see, this is quite full with the wormweed. So I try not to overfill it too much, guys. Otherwise it's quite hard to get it out from underneath. So I'll shut that off from there. See, take it straight out. So I've got it sitting up on pavers just to make it easier to get something underneath. Thank you, Annabelle. So this is what I mean, guys, about the square-sided containers being easier to pour. sort of a bit like your measuring jug, how it has its own sort of lip on it for pouring. As opposed to the rounded, you can make quite a mess, and you don't want to waste any of this good stuff, do you, Annabelle?
Nope.
This is liquid gold for the garden, guys. So I use this, I dilute it down. I know a lot of people will tell you a measured amount to dilute it by. I don't have a measured amount, guys. I do a glug or two per watering can, fill the rest up with water. The best dilution that I have heard was that you dilute it to the point that it looks like weak tea. So that's always been a rule of thumb that I do go off, guys. As long as it looks like weak tea, because you can actually overdo it with this stuff, guys, and end up killing things with love. So make sure you do stick to that weak tea rule, guys, and you won't go wrong. So I'm going to see how much more there is in this worm farm. I reckon there's going to be quite a bit in there, guys, because I have been a little bit lazy with, not lazy, just a lot of other stuff going on. Yeah, it's down to the sludgy stuff that comes out at the end, guys, which is still good stuff. You have to actually dilute that a little bit more than you do the actual liquid. It does hold a little bit more of the goodness in there. So guys, with the wormweed, the fresher you can use it, the better. So if you were to go and grab this right now and put it in your watering cans and water it on your garden now, that is the best result you will get from this stuff. The longer you leave it, unless it is airtight, so by keeping it in here and not allowing air into there, it doesn't oxidize and lose a lot of the goodness. But it does lose some, even in an airtight container, guys. So I highly suggest, if you are going to extract it, I try to extract on the day of watering. So I'll extract it, take the watering cans out with my buckets and with my lovely assistant Annabelle, I'll normally do the concentrated amount into the watering can. She'll fill the watering cans with water, and it's the best team. And I put it on straight away, guys, and I've had the best results. So by using wormweed, guys, it actually helps plants with temperature fluctuations and transplant shock, just like as good as sea salt, if not better. But yeah, this stuff really is magic stuff, guys. I highly recommend getting a worm farm. As you see, they don't take up much space. If you're a coffee drinker, if you have a few vegetable scraps, it's very easy to keep them going. And what they do, worms will actually breed for the feed they have. So if you don't feed too much, they will actually die off. If you feed a little bit more, they'll breed up more. So the fluctuation of the farm will actually go with how much food they have. So yeah, and once you get to a certain point, you can always divide and build a new farm. I've seen amazing worm farm tutorials, guys. People have made them out of buckets, out of jugs. People have made them out of old bathtubs, which is going to be my next project I'd like to do. So it really is, the possibilities are endless, guys. There are a few rules which I'll go through later as to how to keep a well-maintained worm farm, because you can end up with a lot of nasties in there by overfeeding, putting the wrong things in, or having it in the wrong place. So we'll go through a few of those things later, guys, but for now I'll look at emptying it out and show you how I do it. Alright, guys, so as you can see, this is the bottom tray. Not a lot of worms, guys. It's quite compact. I can see a hole of maybe 6-7 worms, and that's because they all should be up in the top layer. That's why I put the pumpkin earlier on, to get them all up into the top layer, because when you extract this stuff, guys, so this is your worm castings or worm casings, and this stuff here is just as good as the wormweed. This can also be diluted down and made like a tea with it. You'd put it into like a closely drawn bag, a hessian bag or a sack or something, and you'd stew it in water for a couple of days and then use it. But this stuff, guys, is amazing when used in planting holes. So I use this normally when I plant my spring plantings. I'll use this stuff. Same thing like I mentioned about the wee, guys. The quicker you can use this, the better and the higher the nutrient value is there will be behind this, guys. So what I do for now, I'll put it in an airtight bucket, and because it's only going to be another month or so before we'll be planting. I would normally do this closer to planting of spring, but all my timing's been all over the shop, guys. I've been adding to the worm farm, too much adding without. I should have done this probably earlier, just before winter probably. I should have done this and then again ready for spring. So anyways, guys, I'll show you what I do and then you'll see how I end up doing. All I do pretty much is turn it out, guys.
Now it's everywhere. Whoops. Can I put my hands in?
You can put your hands in if you like, Annabelle. And as you see, guys, not a lot of worms, a lot of goodness. So normally, guys, if there are a lot of worms, so guys, putting this in your garden with a few worms in it is not a bad thing, guys. It's actually really good. You're adding worms to your garden without taking too many from your colony. As you've seen, there was a lot of worms in my colony, guys. So with this stuff, guys, I'll now put this in a bucket. If you were, say you didn't do the pumpkin or the watermelon trick, or you didn't have time to do something like that, what you would do, guys, is you would slowly take from the edges, and you'd take from the edges, and then you'd leave it, say, for 20 minutes or so in a sunny position. And what's happening, guys, is the worms are going, oh my gosh, we don't like this light. We want to get back to the darkness. So they continue to burrow into the middle. So then you continue to take from the edges. And you'll continue to do this over a duration of, say, about 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours, slowly removing the outer layer. And until you come to worms. Once you come to worms, you'd stop and you'd let them then go back into the middle. And at the end, guys, normally you're left with a handful or a bundle of worms, which you would then take the worms and put them straight back into your worm farm. We're not going to have that problem just because of the pumpkin and the watermelon trick. So I'm going to get a bucket, guys, and I'll put all this in, and then I'll be with you in a second. Hey guys, I just want to show you a quick video of exactly what's in the bottom. So that's where the wormweed is trapped. That's that sludge. As you can see, there is more in there, but it has stopped. So one thing I learned the hard way with worm farms, guys, is when you do take the layers off, when you are going to put them back and not a layer that you're going to wash, I would highly suggest that you put them on a piece of cardboard, guys. We have gravel rocks in here, and I learnt this the hard way. These layers are actually quite heavy, especially when they're full. And what I have learnt is when you put them on the gravel, rocks get stuck to the bottom of them. You then put them back, those rocks fall down into that bottom wormweed layer, and those rocks block that spout where the weed comes out. When that happens, guys, it is a nightmare. You have to completely dismantle the beds, and if it's absolutely full of the wormweed, look, guys, it's amazing stuff, and like all amazing stuff, it also smells amazing. So you have to then dig your hands into it or try and tip it into a bucket. It's a nightmare, guys. So I highly suggest when you do take your layers off, put them on a bit of cardboard or a board of timber or some sort of mat that won't allow rocks and stuff to get stuck to the bottom, because I won't be hosing the bottom of this one. The other tray that we took off, that we actually harvested the worm castings out of, that tray will be washed down. I choose a different fruit tree every time. I'll hose it out underneath the fruit tree, and they get all the goodness and the nutrients of that. And same as the base. I'll also take the base and I'll hose that off under a fruit tree. And guys, as you can imagine, they'd absolutely love it. So bear with me, guys. I'll go and do that, and then we'll get back to what I do to put it all back together. Guys, I just want to show you an important part as to why I always clean the bottom. So on the ends of all of these legs are breathers, which allow oxygen to breathe in here where the wormwee's kept. And it's really quite important that these always remain clear. So if you don't always wash it down and you leave it blocked up, it can then cause an anaerobic environment for the actual wormwee in there. And anaerobic means a lack of oxygen. When anything becomes anaerobic, it goes off, and it's no good for the garden, it's no good for anything, guys. So by having that airflow and keeping all the breathers free, you allow that to never happen, guys. So quite important to actually always wash that down. Alright guys, so now I'm going to look at putting, so this was the top, this will now become the bottom. But it needs to be kept, you see the level that's on here, guys, that's where the bottom one will sit on the top. That'll have the same levels. So that's roughly how much I need to take out of the top one, or the now bottom one, and put that into the top one, guys. So I'll do that, and then I'll put it all back together.
Want me to help?
If you like.
I'll help. Roll my sleeve.
Wow, look at all those worms, guys.
That's a lot. Can I get this whole bunch of worms? That's a lot. And most tiger worms.
Yeah.
Do you still feed them every day?
Not every day. You don't have to feed them every day.
Otherwise, they don't eat much each day anyway.
No, otherwise if you overfeed, you end up into more problems than if you underfeed, actually, because it ends up going, the feed ends up going bad. It ends up creating a real bad smell.
Gee, look at all of these worms.
Spring, I'm looking to do a lot of planting, guys. I've got my 12 new raised beds, the paddock beds. So I'll need lots of worm castings, guys. A lot of planting going to be happening in spring. I'll be starting the seeds shortly, so I'll be able to show you how I do those as well, guys. So I'll put it all back together and you'll see.
That will be the bottom one.
It's now the bottom.
Where's the other layer?
It's on.
That's the lid. Oh, that was perfect.
Alright guys, and that's the finished product. We now have a worm farm that's with an empty top, I wouldn't say an empty top layer, what would be normally empty top layer had I kept on top of it. But that will be ready to harvest again in spring. I possibly could have taken a little bit more out. You can still see there's a slight gap in there. Not a major problem, guys, considering it's still winter. I won't be adding a lot more to it, only because I know will be needing to harvest it again before spring. So this will only get coffee grounds now. It won't get any more pumpkin or anything like that. I'll be just harvesting out that top bit and leaving the bottom as it is. There's more than enough worms. There's plenty of food still in that bottom, plenty of pumpkin still in there. So that'll keep them down there, hopefully till spring. That's it, guys. Thanks for joining us at Casanova Cottage. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, guys. Leave a comment if there's anything you'd like me to do a video on. Otherwise, bye from me, Annabelle, and Lady. Say hello, Lady. Hello. What about if I do this? Can I draw Guys, this is where I keep my worm farm. Nothing special. I keep it in the dark, so that's... Hey, Lady, you want to be on the camera. So rule of...
Jeez Louise. Everywhere. Now it's everywhere.
Down a touch.
Down Actually, I'd like that one forward because it's not right back.
No, can you just put down a touch more, Annabelle? No, not the camera. Just grab the stick behind and move the stick.